Hey everyone, Pupsker here, and today in Warframe we're going to be talking about all things Duviri Paradox, as we should be getting a lot of Duviri Paradox either news soon or a trailer soon as well. If you haven't seen my video a day or two ago, the Duviri Paradox trailer was supposed to come out in March, but it was delayed until April. So that doesn't bode well, sadly, for the update timing of Duviri Paradox, which means it'll probably come later in April, but that being said, who truly knows, because trailer development and in-game development are two separate departments generally, so could have literally zero impact on it at the same time. Fun, right? Either way, things have been delayed again, but today we're looking at all of the Drifter Melee Duviri Paradox gameplay we can, starting off with the gameplay you've been seeing in the background, which is Pablo doing some up-close melee combat work with that big old hammer, the like Sampotes. Looking at Duviri Paradox gameplay, it is obviously now transferred into a slow-paced, melee with skills focused, pretty much call-styled gameplay, but melee. So if you like Call Garrison style gameplay, but melee, you know, you might like this. If you've played Call's Garrison stuff like Call, then you know what I'm talking about. If not, that's okay, but you essentially have some abilities as the Drifter. You auto attack with melee. There are interrupts where you can knock down enemies. You can stun and block them, essentially, parry if you will, and hit them with like finishers, right? All pretty standard, nothing we haven't seen before, but it is very, very slow paced. So I just want to know what everyone thinks about the combat. First, starting off, of course, with this little melee sequence of these 4 enemies. We'll take a look at all the other Duviri like side stuff afterwards as well, because I'm kind of curious, but until the trailer comes out, we're just going to be taking a look at what we already know. Slow melee has a ton of interrupts, finishers, and you can kinda just take hits seemingly once in a while, because the Drifter operator kinda just takes a hit here and there, but not, I think, in this gameplay. I don't think Pablo takes any damage in this one. So we'll go over, watch some other gameplay, but so far, Duviri gameplay does seem a little, it just seems a little easy, right? Like, it doesn't seem hard at all. It seems like a very simple and basic melee RPG. So I'm hoping once you unlock some operator abilities, like some, what is it, levels into your operator, I can't remember what it's called, intrinsic, those are the word. I hope once we get some intrinsics levels, once we actually open up Duviri, it'll get a little more complicated. But so far, melee combat in Warframe has always been like very simple, and Drifter combat, while they try to change it up, make it less simple and make it more of a melee RPG, you know, compared to Warframes where you just mash keys, kill everything. I get that, but it just seems like too basic, you know? But I'm really hoping once things expand, it'll be less basic, because Pablo seemingly guards them really easily on like once they've already been hit. So it seems like maybe the sequencing and like the triggering of blocks to guards to parries, maybe it might be a little off. So I'm hoping the game's nice on launch and less buggy looking on launch, but you never truly know. I will definitely at least have a lot of fun playing through it the first time, and probably a handful of times because of the roguelike mechanics, but we'll have to obviously wait and see. I think the first time we got a look at Warframe Duviri Paradox was in DevStream 168, which I'll be, you know, playing off all of that stuff, which was, you know, pretty cool. We got to see the Drifter go around fighting some enemies, do side missions, and it looks pretty cool, all things considered. The combat is, you know, not bad. We see some more expanded gameplay in the first time they took into Duviri, like enemies having skills and fighting back a little better, so combat will be interesting. It'll definitely be interesting. If you want a Dark Soulsian, every RPG, like melee RPG, is always just compared to Dark Souls, especially because Warframe is calling Soulframe. Can't help it. They 100% deserve it. It's just so funny though. but it seems like a much more basic, simple type of combat compared to most games. You've seen it before in every other RPG, right? We just have to see how it ends up feeling and playing out IMO in Warframe compared to like some of the other games that they've had out there. There's so many good melee RPGs. I could go play some Final Fantasy if I wanted. Final Fantasy 16 is coming out this year. I don't think Drifter Duviri gameplay will hand a torch to like Final Fantasy. Sorry. I think the gameplay of Duviri Paradox Melee is going to be not anywhere close to as good as a game like Final Fantasy. I know a lot of people are playing melee combat-based RPGs like MMOs and stuff. Naraka's Blade Point, I think I've seen people play. So there's just a lot of melee-styled games out there that feel really good for a lot of people, and I really hope that Warframe Duviri Paradox can capture the nice, fluent, good feeling melee, because it just seems a little wishy-washy right now, but hey, we'll have to get our hands on it. I think Duviri Paradox is gonna pretty much end up like a better version of Railjack. Like, it'll be kind of like Railjack release, but better, right? Duviri Paradox is gonna be its own content island. You can melee, you can play just as your Warframe, or you can just do like story mode, right? And I think it's just gonna have a lot of things that people want to play and a lot of things that people won't want to play. So it's nice that they're doing that, but I just don't know how that's gonna end up working in the entirety of things. Because the Duviri Paradox has mini games like fishing, but it's like different fishing, maw fishing. People like that, it'll be fun for a little bit, but you can only do a mini game for fishing for so many hours before getting bored, etc., etc. So Duviri Paradox is another open world, okay? It is. It's another open world content island, what people, I don't know, have been or have not been asking for. Think of it just like another Zariman, another Railjack, another open world. It's all the same, but different, right? So we'll have to see what Warframe expands with that, but that's kind of how the combat there looks. It's very basic, very simple, and it's melee based. Enemies will have some abilities, you'll have some abilities, there will be knockdowns, there will be stuns, staggers, and there will be fights. So we'll have to see how that goes. But finally, we also do have Soulframe gameplay, because that's right, we had to compare Soulframe and Duviri gameplay because it's essentially the same thing, of course. Soulframe, new Digital Extremes game that is a melee and magic focused RPG, right? Duviri Paradox, it's a melee with stun gun magic focused RPG. So Digital Extremes is 100% getting flack, and they're getting like yelled at online for seemingly, right, testing out a melee RPG game mode in Warframe. The same time they're developing a melee RPG game that won't be out for 2 years. So at this point, everyone's shitting on them a ton for Warframe Duviri Paradox looking like it's just Soulframe beta. And no offense to Warframe, but they 100% deserve this flack, like Warframe Digital Extremes, right? Because it's pretty much true. Like, it's not wrong. They're creating the exact same style of gameplay in beta, in Warframe, and in like Soulframe at the exact same time, and then showing them off like one after another. So it's kind of obvious that Warframe intertwines their games and departments, because they kind of always have. Do y'all remember where Drifter Tenno? What's Tenno come from? So what's the deck skins? There's a lot of hidden lore. So Warframe's kind of always done that. Whether they deserve flack for it or not, I think it's fine for them to get hate for it either way, hate or like, because it's a weird way to go about it. I guess if you're a smaller company that isn't a billion-dollar company, but let's be real, Warframe's made close to $1 billion by now. Either way, I guess if you're not a multi-billion-dollar games company, you do weird things like this. And yeah, who knows? Either way, it looks like Duviri Paradox gameplay and Soulframe are legit like the same thing right now. And it's just funny as hell to me and a lot of other people. The combat 100% needs work. Like, things do not interact and touch well enough. So it just feels like you're playing baby's first RPG, which is a little depressing for Warframe, because after 10 years of development, you think they'd, you know, make it a little more tightened and cleaned and better worked. It just seems like everything's so loosey-goosey with combat that, like, things are going to be hitting where it looks like they don't hit. You'll be able to block and parry and dodge at like really late iframes. So I hope they can clean it up, but it seems like melee combat so far for Duviri Soulframe so far is very simple, very easy, and as long as you either stay distanced away or block somewhat decently, you'll be fine. I'm hoping it's a little better, and I hope it feels really good. That's the issue, right? Truly the issue is we don't know how good or bad the gameplay feels right now, because even though it looks a little goofy, right, and it looks like it doesn't connect, and it looks like baby's first RPG, it could still play really well and be like a lot of fun. I hope it lasts the tests of time and it does get better over the next year, like Duviri Paradox and Soulframe, of course, mainly Duviri Paradox because we're actually playing that soon. But hey, it is what it is. Warframe's always been a weird experimental game. Over the past 5 years, it's become less and less like Warframe and more side Warframe content, which is both good and bad, because Warframe just, you know, has their little identity crisis. Maybe they don't know what they want to do, or maybe they don't know what they want to do in relation to how players would find it fun. Who knows, right? Gameplay looks cool and interesting, but I hope it stands the test of time, and I hope it plays good. But for now, that's all of the real Soulframe and Warframe melee combat we've seen with Duviri Paradox. Let me know what you think. It's clearly just, you know, Soulframe's baby, beta test, if you will, and I hope it ends up going well for Warframe and Soulframe. Hopefully we'll see more at TennoCon, but until then, we should have the Duviri Paradox trailer come out soon. The reason most likely they delayed the Duviri Paradox trailer in March is because they do not have a set in stone release date yet for Warframe Duviri Paradox. Because at any time, they can release the Duviri Paradox trailer, right? And at the end of it, it can say, coming April X. But until they know when April X is, when they can actually ship Duviri Paradox, they can't release the trailer. That's what I'm just kind of assuming at this point, right? So I would still expect Duviri Paradox later in April, maybe 3rd week in April, could even be 4th week in April. But I just pray that Digital Extremes lets us know soon and we get the trailer soon, because I dislike waiting. Either way, I hope to see some people at TennoCon this year. I will be buying my tickets bright and early on the 5th, whenever that goes live, and then buying my plane tickets. And yeah, taxes are done this year, so I'm a broke piece of shit again. It is what it is. I spent less than I thought I would, but that's just because I spent so much money on computer stuff this year that I'm broke. So yeah, it's all coming together, folks. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate it, and I will see you next time. Sub-like if you want to support the channel, and you know, if you ever want to use the Epic Game Store creator code Pupsker, it's literally my channel name, and you buy anything on Fortnite, just put in creator code Pupsker. Genshin, Warframe on Epic, anything helps. So thank you all, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.